Welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia Podcast, episode number 111. That's right, the 111th episode of your weekly Stadia podcast, where we round up all of the gaming and Stadia news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here at Helix Cloud Games. You're joining myself, Chris, one of your hosts for this week's episode, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
How are you today, Chris?
I am doing quite well. We've got an earlier start than usual because we're going out for drinks this afternoon. I know it's a Monday for most of our listeners and viewers, but we're recording on a Saturday this week just so we can go out and enjoy the weekend without worrying about potential hangover implications, maybe. As we
What's
do.
the energy drink situation for you right now? Because you said last week that you were trying to cut back.
I'm drinking Stadia juice, also known as water out of a canteen.
Ice cold tap. What?
Ice cold tap, which my granddad calls Tapaline.
Tapaline? I've never heard that, but I like it.
It's just his own brand that he fills it up, puts it in the fridge, and when we have family visit from out of town, they really like the water taste from around here. Because we have hard water up in the northeast rather than soft water, which most cities and stuff do. And it tastes different. And yeah, my cousin really likes it. So when they were kids, my granddad used to bottle it up, take it away, nice and chilled, some fresh Tapaline water. Copyright. But yes, you are here, everyone. I'm proud of myself. Richie, it's on the 6th of November. I've not had any energy drinks all week. I've just been having cups of tea,
Awesome.
fresh juice, and water. So,
how many cups of tea?
I don't have sugar in my tea. I actually stopped having sugar ages ago.
Is it the sugar for you more than the caffeine?
Yeah. Caffeine's not so. I don't drink coffee as well, so it's not really that bad. You know, I'm not a morning person anyway, so I think regardless of caffeine. But
I'm not a morning person.
I'm just trying to keep it fresh. So thanks for keeping me right. This won't become a weekly thing. Segment on the show. Has Chris consumed sugar this week? But I do appreciate you checking in. Obviously, all the beers and spirits we drink this afternoon don't count. That's a whole different thing. Right, we are here for a great show. We've got a fantastic show. Before we get into it all, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave us a review. Share us, follow us with all your friends, but more importantly, if you could all do us a favour if you are watching, all the hundreds of you who watch and listen along on podcast services, follow us on Twitter at Helix Cloud Games, because we are on the cusp of 1,000 followers. And we don't really promote our social feeds as much as we probably could or should do, but yes.
No, we kind of just go, follow us on Twitter. And
if you want to. We don't really push news, we just push our content. All Stadia 100% related, of course, but we would appreciate if you are a viewer or listener and think, I'm going to do the lads one favour. Share us, tag us, tweet, retweet our episodes, whatever you need to do to get the word out.
At the time of recording, we're on 995 followers. So if you're already following us on Twitter, tell Dave he needs to follow us as well. Everyone knows a Dave. Yeah.
Everyone does know Dave.
Yeah, you know Dave. Go tell Dave he needs to follow us on Twitter.
I know several Daves. Good solid name, Dave.
Yeah.
He's a good friend. He's a good bloke. It's Dave. But we've got a great show for you lined up this week. We're going to be talking about AMD boosting Stadia's cloud tech, new extra free trials coming to the platform, an absolute ton of games coming from 2K after their annual earnings report. Naturally, shows what's in the pipeline for the publisher and games developer of Rockstar, Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, and the like. Netflix Cloud Gaming rolls out across Europe. More Assassin's Creed, Humankind, and new games teased for Stadia by developers over on Twitter, in and amongst everything else. But before we delve into all that, Richie, I'd say I'd like to know what you've been playing, but you're just going to answer me with Persona.
Yep, Persona 5. I'm committed to the platinum.
Update. How long have you got left on it, do we think?
I haven't got a clue. I've committed to the platinum now. I'm about 150 hours in. I'm probably about halfway through the story, New Game Plus. But there's two extra boss fights to do that you don't really do during the normal playthrough, where they're kind of really high level. So I don't know when I get to a point where I can actually consider them, how much grinding I'll have to do beforehand. But at the moment, I think I'm about 10 levels over-leveled compared to where I'm used to be. Most of my party's at level 46.
Right.
And the newest member of my party was defaulted to level 36. So that's kind of like a good benchmark how far ahead I am in terms of characters.
By this time next week, will you be done with Persona 5?
I think it's possible, but I don't think it's a definite.
Don't care to hope, ladies and gentlemen. Don't.
It really depends how much time I have to work on it next week.
Do you know what's great, though, is we were able to pull you away from the world of Persona for a very, very brief moment this Thursday because we had a fantastic live stream with you, the Stadia community out there, joined us on Thursday to play one of this month's pro games, Dirt 5. Of course, we spoke about it on last week's show, but more importantly, this was a game that only came out in March, a full-price AAA title. We got it on pro, we dove in with the community, we played with, I think we had about 20-odd people at one point in the chat, all racing along with us. We cycled out our groups. Richie, what were your first thoughts on Dirt 5? It's the first time we've both played into it. What did you take away from our two or so hours and many, many races?
Well, my biggest takeaway of it is anyone who's watched our other streams when we played racing games knows that I've always said I'll probably be better. I'm terrible at like the simulation-y stuff. I'll probably be better at more arcadey stuff. It's just not true. I am garbage at racing games. Apart from Mario Kart, I'm pretty okay with Mario Kart. But I think Dirt 5's a decent game. I was having fun to a certain degree, but my own abilities were letting me down, so I wasn't really racing that much more. I was driving around the track, crashing around the track, like a minute after everyone else.
Did you forget to invert the controls?
No,
that's not a thing. It's not a thing, right, in driving games?
There's probably some weird person out
Probably
there when they want to steer left, they want to press right.
Yeah, that would be weird. Turn your controller upside down for the same effect. But Dirt 5, I had a great time. I won a couple of races. We tweeted out from our main Twitter account, which we mentioned you should follow, a video clip the other day of how I threw away the lead on the ice rink. But I think what I enjoyed more about Dirt 5 is just the arcadey nature of the levels. You had a variety of different vehicles. You had different weather terrain, dynamic weather, or pick a particular one. The tracks were all varied. We raced in quarries. We raced on ice lakes. We raced in snow. And I think it just kept it different, just mixing it up with different styles in it. Like I said, I'm more of an arcade fan than I am a simulation fan. Especially playing with the awesome people in our community. It was great. I had loads of fun, and I'm definitely open to jumping back in for a few more races on Dirt 5 in the future. But I think I just take it for granted that it was a brand new AAA game that we've got on Pro. I think it's been a good month this month. I've also checked out Kimono Heroes, played a little bit of that. Not as good as it probably looked initially. It's definitely a throwback to the old Sega Genesis, Sega Mega Drive era. But there was just something about it which I think after playing Monster Boy, it just didn't feel like it had that polish.
It felt probably a bit too much like a Sega Genesis game.
Yeah, like it started off and there was no kind of real intro into what the game was. Not that they have story and stuff, but there was just no kind of setting. Like Shovel Knight, I love Shovel Knight. It's a fantastic game, but I feel like it just didn't set the scene of what the story was. It was kind of just here's 4 characters, pick one and have at it. And like, don't get me wrong, some of the character designs and the traversal mechanics were fun to play, but there was nothing that really. Once I finished the first few levels, I was just like, okay, I get it, but it's not. Nothing made me want to play on, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like this is fine. I've kind of enjoyed it, but there's nothing here that's going to keep me going. That I don't really have a reason to continue playing.
Yeah, it may have just been the opening menu screen. To select, it had me select B to go forward in the menu, and that confused me right to begin with because you know like old Japanese games. Use B or circle.
Is Kimono Heroes is on Switch, isn't it?
Yes. So
instead of like remapping the controls, they've probably went, you know what, you're just going to play B. They've just changed.
Yeah, I did that really rookie thing where you get a few. Like, you get through the main menu, then you get to the level select and the character select, and then I found myself, going back a step because I kept pressing the wrong button, and it kept taking me back to the previous menu, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's the Japanese-style controls. Well, a little thing, but funny.
We always kind of look at it and go, oh, the Nintendo-style controls with, A being on the right and B being on the bottom of that, diamond.
Yeah.
We always think, oh, that's weird, but it's like, Nintendo kind of invented the standard layout for the face buttons with their SNES. It's even the PlayStation and the circle is meant to be except in the cross or X as it should be known.
Yeah,
is meant to be cancel. So the PlayStation it actually mimics the Nintendo controller, but everyone in the West kind of went, no, it is on the bottom.
Yeah, it is very weird. Although PlayStation, Sony did acknowledge that after when the PS5 generation started, they wouldn't be using the Japanese one layout, even in Japan. So they've totally westernized it for everyone globally now. But you can always remap and such, so we digress. But yes, check out Kimono Heroes, obviously. I've still got the Wine 100 days to check out, but I'll find some time for that in amongst. Maybe on Thursday. We'll see. We'll have to see.
For a bottle of wine.
Bottle of wine, yes. Maybe. We'll see. How much sugar does wine have in it? Or is it all natural
Quite a
sugars?
lot.
Yeah, probably. I expect as much. It's grapes and wine, right? Grapes and wine?
Yeah.
Grapes and sugar.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wine is grapes and wine. That's how you make it.
That's how you make wine. You take some wine, you put some grapes in it, and then you have more wine.
Magic. Right, before we get into the news, special shout out to all of our members on the channel. Of course, you can join us, help support us from as little as 99p a month. It gets you access to super stickers in the chat. It gets you a little emoji next to your name. More importantly, it supports me, Richie and Tom, bring you better quality content. Like our new intros, if you've not noticed, for the last 10 weeks, we've had a new intro for the podcast. For the last few weeks, we've had a new intro for SideQuest, which as a member, not only do you get that sexy new intro, you get it up to 6 days early. We record this usually on a Sunday. It goes live on that Sunday, so you don't have to wait a whole 5-6 days for it to drop on the YouTube channel. You can get it straight away as part of an early access content for our members. But more importantly, we do this as a hobby, but we do appreciate any extra support you can give us to help us grow, invest, buy new tech like new cameras, computers. Richie, you just bought some new lights today.
I did, because mine died. That's why any video watchers may have noticed I've been fiddling with things, because I was getting quite washed out, but I've kind of adjusted this. I think I look like a human now.
You look like a human with a nice complexion today.
Yeah.
So shout out to all of our members. Over 50 of you have supported us over the months, years in fact. But yes, we appreciate all past, present and future members, whoever you are. You know who you are, because you got stickers next to your name. Right, Richie.
Yeah.
Let's get into the show. Do us the honours.
The Super Sexy Special Stadia Story segment, aka the news.
I did realise I didn't give you the rolling start, but you nailed it. You nailed it.
I always find the aka the news bit feels a bit awkward. When Tom does it, he nails it every time. For me, I always feel awkward saying aka the news bit.
Like you're wearing someone else's shoes.
Yeah. The Super Sexy Special Stadia Story segment. I've got that down now.
The news. Felt like I was obliged to say it at the end there again.
Yeah.
Just because you went back into it. We've been saying the news for a long time. 111 episodes. 111th. 111. We said
all
last week, we joked. It's a palindrome episode.
Yeah.
Except for it doesn't really work with numbers as much.
So, because it's the palindrome episode, what we're going to do is we're going to get halfway down the stories and repeat them in back
order. Well, you know what? We've got that little news this week. We could do that just to flesh the episode out. Because, yes, this is the first week, of course, since Stadia pulled back on the news, essentially.
Yeah.
We're no longer getting a weekly blog. We're getting a bi-weekly or fortnightly blog, which means pulling together stories for these shows. Apparently, it's going to get a little bit harder for us. So we've done our best. We've still got a great show lined up for you. But it might not be as juicy as you would want it. But in theory, next week's should be extra juicy. Because they're holding news back to tell us, right? Right?
I hope so. I
mean, hope so.
The community, it's one of them weird ones. The community goes, hey, can we get more information or what you're doing when these features are coming, etc., etc. And Stadia goes, you want less news?
Yeah, we'll take everything, hold it to ourselves, and tell you on a fortnightly basis. But we've done our best digging to bring you the best Stadia scoops we possibly can. So then, Richie, kicking things off, first story of the week. AMD, famed for their processor work in the computing world, they have announced. I'm slowing down because I realised I played the wrong video for some reason.
All right, I was wondering what you were doing there.
I don't know.
I thought you were trying to build the tension.
I wasn't. I'm talking really slowly, so the news goes really slowly. No, I downloaded a cloud AMD video, and then it started playing a trailer for Saints Row, I think. So that happens every single week now. I don't know why. I check them thoroughly. I'll edit it in post. Either way, AMD Cloud Tech is working away, and they've announced this week, they put out a statement saying they're bringing out a competitor to the RTX 3080 pods, which we know GeForce Now have been speaking about. They've been pushing with a new tier of GeForce Now. Gaming in the cloud is always going to be evolving and pushing onto that next barrier. We know Stadia have actively said they can replace server blades and such in the background. We've had many shows where we've discussed it. In fact, we've had a whole SideQuest episode dedicated to Stadia 2.0, or what the next iteration of Stadia looks like, because as far as we, the public, are aware, is they've been quite static since the GDC announcement in 2019, and they're coming up on the second birthday. And we know Stadia uses a custom AMD processor. So this news this week of AMD coming out and saying, I'll find it, they have announced the all-new Radeon Pro V620 GPU, powered by RDNA 2 architecture, is designed to live in the cloud servers and run tasks such as cloud gaming, desktop as a service, visual computing, and machine learning. So in effect, Richie, this GPU is a pro version of the older RX 68,000. 68,000?
Yeah.
6800. 100, that's
which isn't an old card at all. It's the current. I think it's the current top flagship from AMD.
Yeah.
But from what I get from this, the 6800 XT it's a consumer card. Like theoretically, which is at the moment with the chip shortage, it is a very theoretically. You should be able to go to a shop and pick one of these up off a shelf.
Yes.
From what I gather with the V620 Pro, the new one, it's very similar, but they've done some tweaks to increase its graphical memory up to 32 gigabytes. But it's getting specifically designed for cloud server usage, so it's probably going to be not a consumer card. It's not, or even an enthusiast card. It's probably going to be targeted at people like Google, like Microsoft, like Amazon. People who have cloud serving farms.
Yeah, and we know, obviously, the demand for cloud has gone, ironically, through the roof to the skies in the last 18, 19, 20 months because of the pandemic and every business workforce.
The global chip shortage.
Yeah, the global chip shortage. And just like everyone has pivoted towards using Microsoft Teams, Skype, Zoom for their work. My job is very much like 50% work from home at the moment. Obviously, all the schools, teachers, children, absolutely everybody had to rely on cloud in some way, shape or form, whether it's for documents, and then gaming is just another pillar of that. So as the world settles, I think cloud is definitely, we know it's here to stay, it's only going to get bigger and better. We know Microsoft are working on Azure, Sony have got their Gaikai stuff going on, but the reality is Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all these like people who have these businesses that have this infrastructure, they're investing in it, they're doubling down on it, and then the chip manufacturers, so AMD, Intel and such, they're only going to get better. But it's just really interesting, I think, from a Stadia point of view. We surely must theorize that they're ready for a jump up. Now GeForce has, Microsoft have been taught, like they've upgraded. We did a whole SideQuest episode on this.
We did. It's a good show. You should go watch it.
Yeah, it's a great show. You should go check it out. Every Friday, free feeds, early access for members. Specifically though for Stadia, they use AMD tech. So
yeah.
We know they've came out and said in the past that they're not going to actively tell us when they make these upgrades. You see a couple of people every now and again on social media saying, has Stadia gotten better? Haven't played Stadia in a few months, jump back in, looks way better. At what point do we draw a definitive line and say, no, it is competing with current gen?
I think sometimes people's perceptions can be skewed. Those who haven't played for a few months and jump back in goes, oh, it's playing better. It might be just through other factors. It might just be your internet connection's a bit better, your home networking's a bit better, or it could just be a slightly altered perception of it. As someone who's played Stadia regularly for the last 2 years, I haven't noticed any significant improvements in performance. Like, I think it's fine.
Yep.
But it could be better. So yeah, I think part of this, I straight up, I do think it's time for Stadia to upgrade the servers and announce it as well. This is the thing Stadia have done, being pretty terrible with marketing. If they were slowly, incrementally improving things and then maybe dropping a blog post here or there, fine, that's one way to go about it. But when you're getting silent and your competitors are going, yeah, we've just upgraded this. Look how awesome this is. Yeah, Xbox, you like the Xbox Series X? Well, now you can run that performance in the cloud, and then Stadia are silent. Like, shout and scream about it. Be proud of your work. You do some awesome stuff. So if you upgrade the servers, tell people.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing to be praised for, to be excited about.
Yeah, I think if they don't tell us, the only way realistically we're going to notice is if things, when like PlayStation 4, Xbox One, the game developers eventually stop making games for those platforms, and then essentially we're only getting PS5, Series X new games on the market, and then surely by default Stadia just falls in line with current gen because the games are coming out for all these platforms. And at that point, when ray tracing is kind of like standardized a little bit more, we know load times are great. But
I think, I mean, someone wrote in on our Discord, which you can do. So I think we're probably going to, in a couple of weeks' time, do it as a side quest. I'm not going to go in huge amount of detail, but I think Stadia will be fine for this current generation, because while you may not get next gen performance when you're playing the game, the servers are capable of that. Of running like look at Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk on Stadia performed better than everything barring top end GPUs on PC. So Stadia can absolutely handle it, but because of the streaming element involved, you don't get the full quality. But that's every streaming platform's going to be. That's just the reality. But we can go more into that on the side quest in a couple of weeks' time, because I think there is a lot more to like dig into there.
Yeah, it's good to see, and we know we've said on this show many times that technology in cloud gaming, it doesn't stand still. So it's always going to be better naturally. Like your mobile phone now is infinitely more powerful than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and just think of where Stadia and cloud gaming will be in another 5 years. Remember, it's not even 2 years old yet. And yes, we want them to upgrade the tech, but it is still an investment. It costs money, and running these things costs money. And I think if everything can just become more powerful, I think it will.
But I think this AMD news, when more companies like AMD and Nvidia and Intel are developing like their chipsets to be running better for cloud gaming, it means that something like Stadia then doesn't have to pay the probably extraordinary high costs to get a bespoke service. Yeah. If there's something like this, is one of the things that I think has helped Microsoft is, well, we're going to improve xCloud. Let's use our Xbox Series X hardware to improve it, because we already have lots of this stuff. So if you can use off-the-shelf components, it's always going to be cheaper than bespoke solutions.
Yeah, and I could certainly see a time many years from now where Google use their own chips and processors. We've seen it in this month's release of the Pixel 6. They use a Google Tensor processor, I think. It's the first Google chip in a smartphone.
Apple are doing similar with the M1 architecture, which is apparently amazing. Apple are finally actually getting back to the top of the game. But
you just cut out the middleman, right? You're paying a different company to produce stuff for you that you could just do yourself, and just streamlines everything. That's
one way to go about it, but I think a lot of developers would prefer you to use more commercially available solutions, because then they only have to develop the software or the games or whatever for less different types of architecture, which means there's less potential of bugs, coding issues, all that sort of stuff. This is one of the reasons why I think with Sony, their first party titles can be so good, because they're dedicated to development for one platform, not 6 or 7.
Yeah. I mean, I've said that a few times recently, playing some Ubisoft games like Far Cry and stuff, like how jumping from the likes of Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2 to those games, like it makes them look a generation behind visually, especially in cutscenes. But you're right, totally down to having more hands-on time with specific architecture. So we'll see. We know some developers have touted like the power Stadia can have. We know Thomas Salla, the developer for the Falconeer, explicitly came out and said Stadia needs to be slowed down because it's that fast. He needs to do special algorithms within his programming to slow the power down just to get the game to run at like within a decent rate.
But we also know Stadia are working on their porting tools, so that might be one of the things that they're working on. Okay. Oh yeah, we've got a lot of indie developers or smaller developers saying, "Look, your hardware's too powerful. Like, it's causing issues with the codes. Like, they might go, oh yeah, okay, what we can do is we can put limiters in there, so a smaller game doesn't necessarily use the full power behind that Stadia has access to. There's things that Google can do there, but that's
definitely. And just to summarise then, in the article we're reading from tomshardware.com, not our tomshardware.com, you might have a separate blog on the side. With AMD advertising cloud gaming as one of its strengths, wouldn't be surprised to see it start competing with NVIDIA's cloud gaming 3080 architecture. Of course, we've covered that on the show as well. Both are very similar in terms of performance. Once someone puts it in their own service, it'll be exciting to see AMD and NVIDIA compete, not just in the consumer space, which we know they do, but in the cloud as well. And I think they're already competing in the cloud, quite frankly.
Yeah, they kind of are. I can't remember. Is Xbox a bespoke AMD GPU? I think it might be. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong there. I might. Actually, I'm just scrolling back through the notes on the SideQuest from a few weeks ago.
See if you can find the custom D. Yeah, you had the little graph.
Series X is the Series X hardware is a 12 teraflop AMD RDNA 2 GPU. So yeah, that's a bespoke. This is xCloud and Stadia are using bespoke AMD stuff.
There we go then. So
obviously GeForce now is using the RTX 3080.
Yeah.
But
interesting. So
but you'd expect that from an NVIDIA service.
You would, yeah.
AMD are already competing, just not competing like directly. They're competing via Microsoft and Google.
Indeed. So we'll see if that power will be put to practice, because we do know Stadia have a birthday coming up this month. In fact, in just under 2 weeks. Will we hear anything about updates to the tech? We'll theorise that in this week's SideQuest episode. So you mentioned your notes there from SideQuest, Richie. This week we're talking about
Stadia's birthday.
What to expect, what to see, our predictions, our hopes, our wishes. We shall see.
Will they finally give me my cake?
Will they give Richie his cake they promised him last year? I'm going to say no, but we'll see.
No, I'm going to say no as well.
But we'll see. Second,
me and Stadia almost share a birthday. That's all.
Almost.
It's 2 days between us.
You're just 2 AMD chips apart. Second story of the week: Riders Republic, which we've played a free trial of, has gotten a 120-minute free trial. Which is interesting that they say minutes, right?
Yeah, I mean, fine.
It's 2 hours.
Yeah.
But 120 minutes. Free trial up for both pro and non-pro members right now. Of course, we did get the taste trial a week prior to launch. We played it on the channel. The first look is available to watch right now on youtube.com/Hades Cloud Games. We had a great time with it. We played with the community, just like we do every Thursday night. We had loads of fun. We really enjoyed the game. But if you want to check it out now without buying the game, because the free week launch isn't there, you can play it for 2 hours now. Which is great. That adds to the list, Richie, of Control Ultimate Edition and Hello Engineer. So in the space of just a few mere weeks, we now have 3 titles for you to test and try on the platform without needing to be a pro member.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think especially for a game like Riders Republic, where I can see a lot of people being interested on it, but being on the fence about whether to go for it, and there's like, well, it's like 60 quid. I'm not sure if I'll enjoy it. Giving someone 2 hours, which is a significant amount of time, to get a taste how the game is, what the game's about, and bear in mind, it does have pretty much an hour-long introduction to the game.
Yeah, 1 hour.
Where you do try a few different things. I think you do BMX, is it snowboarding or skiing, you get used to wingsuit, so you get a good overview of what the game is about. So I think that 2 hours, so if you're on the fence about it, play for 2 hours and then make a decision. Yeah. If you think it's going to stick for you, then yeah, buy it. I really do like these trial things that Stadia are bringing in. It's something I think we've probably talked about in some of our early shows, how when we're talking about demos and stuff. Yeah, just put a clock on it, let us play for an hour or two, and then go. Hey, are you enjoying yourself? Do you want to play? I also think it's a good way. I think if Stadia advertises properly, I mean mass market advertise it, not just put it in a blog post. It can get people to try out Stadia more, because I'm interested in Stadia, but I'm not sure. I've heard bad things about latency, all that sort of nonsense. I can play Riders Republic, a brand new title from a well-revered publisher in Ubisoft. I can play that for 2 hours, it'll cost me literally nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I can just plug my DualShock. I'll just plug my DualShock 4 into my laptop and play for a couple of hours and go, oh, Stadia works, and the game's awesome.
Yeah, well, we've seen it on Nintendo. You get, you almost get like a free trial of the game for the first hour. I think it's an hour, and you can refund it or return it within the hour if the cloud version, so like Control and Resident Evil and stuff they've had in the past. If it doesn't work, it's basically they give you a time window to test out the latency and if the game works, and then you can refund it if not. So this, essentially, you're completely right. It's the same, and I think a 2-hour window, as long as it's not an indie game, should be more than enough to really get to grips with what the game is. And I'd be very curious to know what happens at the end of the trial. Does it just default to buy the game now, subscribe to Pro, or does it direct you to Ubisoft Plus, maybe? I think that would be a great promotion. At the end of the trial, it just goes, bing, if you want to keep playing, here's your sub, or buy it outright.
I'd imagine, I don't know without trying it out myself, that after 2 hours you probably get a pop-up going, hey, do you want to play more? Click here, and then it'll just direct you to the store page. Because we know on the Stadia store page, for something like Riders Republic, you can just buy the game, but then there's also a Ubisoft Plus button next to it.
Yeah, ready to go. But yeah, I enjoyed Riders Republic. Again, it's not one that I would pay £60 for.
No, it's not one for me, but it's one if I had Ubisoft Plus, I would definitely jump into from time to time.
Yeah, just mess around. Similar to, like, funny enough, like Dirt 5. Like, it's the type of game that when I don't want to really commit to something, that's why I like FIFA so much. You have half an hour here and you just want to just mess around doing something, and Riders Republic
it's not your primary gaming focus. It's that kind of casual game. It's one of them games that in my PlayStation 4 I would have just left installed at all times.
Yeah.
So I can just jump in for an hour like I do with FIFA, where I might be focusing on. I'm focused on playing the new Uncharted, but then I've got FIFA there when I want a bit of a change of pace. Jump in. I've got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Always installed on both my PlayStation 4 and 5 at the moment.
Certainly.
So if I fancy just playing for half an hour, having a mess around, I can.
Yeah. And do remember, we still have the demos for Immortals, Resident Evil Village were a thing as well. And I'm just curious over time how this list of games should hopefully get bigger. We'll get some more interesting titles on it. And if Ubisoft are open to it, you could have a lot of big AAA games just with little taster samples to go.
Well, I think Stadia might be able to get every game on board with this, because that 2-hour free trial is effectively the same as me jumping in, buying a game, playing for like a little under 2 hours and refunding it. Cool. Yeah, the refund policy is pretty much as long as you're under 2 hours, you get your refund.
Yeah, it might just
so it's effectively, and I know for a fact that, well, I can say personally that I have done that for content reasons. For our Doom Eternal first look. Did we do a first look and Doom Eternal?
I think so.
I recorded one. Oh no, it was it wasn't a first look. What it was the from purchase to play. From purchase to play Doom Eternal on our channel that I recorded. I bought the game, played that, decided I wasn't going to play. I wasn't in the mood to play a Doom, and then I refunded it.
Just like that. So you could have just done a free trial.
Yeah. So this would just cut out the steps.
Cut out steps and stop them refunding through banks. I'm sure there's some kind
it
of
would look better for
fee.
Stadia because they won't have as many refunds from content creators doing first looks.
That is true. They could always just give us free codes. But we digress. Free trials, longer free trials more importantly. It's a demo in the clouds. Go fill your boots. Check out Rise Republic if you haven't done so already. And maybe we'll see more. Shout out as well to the free weekend. I know when we record these episodes, we go live to the public after the fact, but this past weekend there was also a free trial for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, another long weekend from Thursday through to Monday. These keep happening time and time again. We don't get that much notice about them. It's almost just like here's a post to say it's available now, but I do think it's a great, again, another way of getting people in the door. It's, again, very similar to a free trial, a free weekend, but the fact that there's no downloads or patches or updates, it's just so much easier to get into. Like, if you just think, I do fancy a little bit of that this weekend. Like, if we stopped the podcast right now and went to play it, you and me could be playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint right now within 60 seconds.
Yeah, we could.
Which is terrific.
I really like the free weekends as a concept, but again, I think Stadia need to be more aggressive with the marketing on this, because we hear about them, people involved in the Stadia ecosystem hear about them, people outside of it don't.
Yeah,
I watch there's a couple like I watch a couple of video game news podcasts, and you never hear about the Stadia free weekends. But that should be just a news point for them.
Yeah.
But if they're not covering, if people like an IGN aren't covering it, then Google need to go to IGN. No, we're doing this. You should talk about it. Like,
even a paid sponsorship, just to get an advert banner out there on the main page or something to say, free weekends available now. Yeah. Click the link and play it. And I think a lot of people will be surprised when they click the advert. It doesn't take them to a download page. It just takes them to the game. Log in with your Gmail and play. And I think a lot of people will be that surprised of how quick it is. Yeah. But you're totally right. Yeah, marketing.
Especially if they have it set up so you don't actually have to add credit card details. You could just, I've got a Gmail account. I have a Stadia account immediately. No setup. All I need to do is go, click this button. Yeah, log in with my Gmail. I'm in. I'm into the ecosystem. That easy. Yeah. There's this game. I can just play.
Yeah, and you're there as well. Great stuff. Nice and quick, seamless. It's almost like we've been talking about it for 111 episodes. Yeah. Story number 3 comes actually from the Stadia developer blog page. Konish Dutta, the program manager over on the Stadia team, put out a blog on the 1st of November for developers. Essentially, 2 points. They want to distribute content through playtests and make it easier to manage betas, downloads, updates, and ensure players have access to the correct builds of the game. And also they want to ensure security and trust between testers and the ability to revoke sessions at the end when necessary. So I read straight from the blog post. Stadia players already experienced the benefits of playing in the cloud, no downloads, no updates. We realise these benefits could also apply to developers who have use cases for releasing content to trusted members of the public before launch. I guess with like NDAs and stuff still apply. We've spent the last year working to bring these benefits to them. Starting now, any Stadia partner can use the cloud to iterate on playtests and close betas faster than before using a feature called channels. Developers can use channels to set up a pre-launch playtest or a closed beta with a build and a storefront of their choice. They can manage the players who have access to the playtest and choose whether or not to keep or revoke each player's entitlements at the end of the playtest. Once publishers have iterated and created a new binary update, they can make it available instantly because players don't have to download the new builds. I'll keep reading. In one case study, a developer wanted to run a 500-user playtest to test their cross-platform multiplayer feature, but didn't want players to keep the entitlement. Just like that. So, wrapping up, we're now working to expand channels to cover the post-launch playtest use case, i.e. test patches for live games in production or production before launch, and other use cases. We think that distribution through the cloud offers opportunities for developers to make their games more fun, not just on Stadia, but on every platform, and we'll continue to lean into these over time. So, Richie, they're handing the developer tools, which I think sounds really cool. I
think this is good.
We've heard a few times throughout the pandemic of people, and we saw actually Jade Raymond when she'd left Stadia, speaking of a New Haven studio a few weeks ago. She actually highlighted the benefits of working from home and doing everything in the cloud has helped their workload and the ability to iterate and customize without having to download, update, patch and stuff.
I think for a lot of people, working from home is something we've discovered over the last 2 years. It can help a lot with work-life balance issues. Especially if you don't have, say if you live in London and you have to commute for about an hour to get to work and then an hour back, instead of having an 8-hour work day, you then basically have a 10-hour work day. Mm-hmm. But if you work from home, you get them 2 hours back. So that's not insignificant. So I am a big fan of working from home. I actually do prefer personally to go into the office though, because I find I'm more productive there. And I like to be around people, interacting face to face more than. Yeah. When you're working from home, you sat there until your meetings. You don't get that normal sort of office banter or anything.
Certainly not.
That aside, I really do think these are good ideas. I don't really have much more to say than that. It's a good idea. Like it's going to help developers. It's going to help play testers.
Yeah, I like the fact that they can just revoke access. But I think from a development standpoint, and just to echo what Jade Raymond said in her interview, I think it was gamesindustry.biz that we covered. I look at this as though, when we do the podcast show notes and we just have a Google Doc and you can update it live in the moment, I can update it live in the moment. If someone copies it, even actually, great example, the other week, remember when I messaged you and we deleted all of our show notes?
We don't
know how it happened, we don't know when it went, but all of our bullet points and our article links and our stories, just completely disappeared. We don't know who did it. If it was an accident, it was a glitch in the system. But all I had to do was I didn't. I swear down. I went into the Google Doc, went history, and it in Google saves different iterations of when it was edited. So I simply went back to before we started recording, clicked it, and it gave me the option to just restore this version of the build, essentially. Boop! Everything popped in, everything was there, safe and sound, just as it was like an hour or so prior. And we've all been there when we forgot to click save. And I think in games development, the fact that they can iterate on this and multiple people can be working on like the same game, but different areas of it within the same file, and then just hit save and bang, everyone gets the update. It's just such a smart way of working.
I think it opens Stadia as well for beta tests, because we've seen beta tests for other games that we know are coming to Stadia, not being beta tests on Stadia, because you think about it, then you've got to do an extra port of the game to support that ecosystem, whatever. But if you can just upload the game, kind of just go, okay, apply here, you'll get a code, you'll get access to that channel where this game's running, then at the end of the weekend or whatever, however long the beta is running, the channel gets closed, you've lost your access, now fill out your server. That's great for developers. Like, I really can't see a downside. This is just another thing that developers can utilise, and the more tools that Stadia can provide that developers can utilise, the more likely I think developers are going to interact with Stadia as a platform.
Certainly. An interesting tidbit, two interesting tidbits actually I'll take away from that, is they said you can make your own storefront within this, which I think, does that lean into like the AT&T thing we saw with Arkham Knight maybe? Where they've handed it to the developers and said, if you want to make your own storefront for this beta, like your own home screen, I guess, it doesn't have to be Stadia, and then just share it out to your team or your beta testers, your 500 playtest people. It could be a way of masking.
This could be the white labelling thing. Maybe Google's plans seem to be for Stadia. Yeah, we're going to have Stadia as our core interface, but then we're also going to have other partners using effectively running on Stadia, but put their own skin over things.
Yeah, very interesting.
Which, for me, I as long as the games come to Stadia, the main element of Stadia, and not just locked behind one. For example, the AT&T Arkham stuff.
Yeah,
great if you're on AT&T. It's absolutely useless for us in the UK because AT&T isn't over here.
Yeah.
So that's just, it's a nothing thing for us. So it's, oh yeah, this awesome game that I want to play is running on Stadia, but I can't play it because AT&T have got basically an exclusive. It's almost like an exclusivity deal, but it's not because they own the game.
It's their IP, it's their game, yeah.
But I don't know. I have mixed feelings on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully it'll come birthday surprise, maybe. Within the article, they also say another publisher wanted to run a press early access program for an upcoming game and wanted the press to keep their entitlements so they could continue reviewing game post-launch. Again, I've heard many on my podcast where they've been playing games in the cloud because obviously the press haven't been able to go to events. No PAX, no GDC, no E3 this year. So they've had to play stuff in the cloud, and I'd be thrilled to just see the stats of how many games maybe were tested on Stadia, and all these journalists were testing the game, going back and reviewing their early look on the game, but just didn't even contemplate that we're playing it on Stadia. They were just told, oh, the developer sent us a link, we booted it up and we played the game and it ran great, without even knowing it was running on Stadia, which they usually give shit to. So, either way, we digress. It's good for the future, interesting to see. And it's nice to see that they end the dev blog post by saying not just on Stadia but on every platform. And it goes back to, I think, Google being, with most of their products, very open source. We know it with Android. We know it with all like Google Docs. And so it's all free. You don't pay for Google Sheets or anything like that, or cloud.
You pay by advertisement, basically.
I mean, yes. I mean, I know you can pay for cloud and stuff now, but initially, most tech's for free.
But
interesting. So, moving on then, we mentioned at the top of the show, next story of the week, Take-Two came out this week with the investor report, statements, whatever it may be. And we got some interesting stories, and I think one of them I find particularly interesting, Richie, because it gave us an update on Hangar 13, which...
Your nemesis.
My nemesis, Hangar 13, which we've not spoke about for some time, because we got Mafia 3 on the platform. Of course, I could go on a 10-minute rant now about how they've still not spoke anything of Mafia 1 or 2,
But we've got a pub to get to, so let's not.
But yeah, we've got a pub to get to. So, next story. Take-Two have announced that the Mafia 3 studio, Hangar 13, after 4 years, they have scrapped the project they were working on at a cost, Richie, of an eye-watering $53 million. Ouch.
That's how much they've already spent on this project. That's $53 million they've just written off.
It's just gone. So the major project, again, since Mafia 3, Hangar 13 haven't put out anything other than these parts, which we don't even know if they were working on the parts because they won't talk to us. Either way.
I don't think Hangar 13 themselves were working on the parts. I think that was outsourced.
Yeah.
But
since 2017, apparently, they've been working on this new game. The unannounced game, known internally as Vault, was set to be a 3-player cooperative live service game to rival Destiny. The game's name was apparently short for Voltron, and one key mechanic would have seen enemies fusing together. But despite the time and money pumped into the project so far, parent company Take-Two has now decided to can the game and potentially affect nearly 200 people's jobs. So, yeah. Obviously, that game sounds terrible.
I'm guessing it must have been terrible because if after 4 years of development and $53 million, you're at a point where you decide this isn't going to work. It's not worth putting any more money into. It's in our best financial interest to just kill this now.
I mean, it feels like the description of the game feels like it would have been great 5 years ago, but it seems like they're trying to play catch up with like Overwatch and stuff and like character-based shooters, but the market's so saturated now with that. It's like battle royales. If you're mid-development of a battle royale game now, it's got to be pretty damn decent to break the mold of Fortnite, Call of Duty, Warzone.
And the thing is, Destiny's kind of built on the back of Bungie's legacy of making awesome shooters and having shooters that feel really good. As much as I'm not a Halo fan, you can't deny the quality of them games when they came out. That's the legacy of Bungie.
Mm-hmm.
Would you expect a Destiny clone from Hangar 13 to play anywhere near to the quality?
No.
Even if that... So people will probably jump in and go, this isn't as good as Destiny, then jump back out. Jump back over to Destiny. So I could see it almost being a dead-on-arrival game, even if they didn't. Unfortunately,
I mean, hopefully in the future we'll see something about it. But it cast a shadow over Hangar 13's future. Understandably, like closing it down, they've not put out anything of note. But then they did follow up with another statement saying, "We have full confidence in Hangar 13's leadership and development team, and believe that we can deliver critical and commercial success in the future. Hangar 13's leadership is working closely with 2K to ensure that the Hangar 13 team members do continue to do meaningful work, either as part of Hangar 13 or on one of our other development teams." And apparently they're going to have meetings later this week to cover it.
Yeah. I think one of the hardest things you can do in a leadership position is actually being able to identify when, although you really think something is a cool idea and you want to go forward with it, to realise that it's just not going to work. And then have to, you know what, we have to can this, we have to just take our loss on this. Because the more effort and time we pour into it, the more frustrated. I imagine if you're working on a game for 4 years... and then you're at a point where it's getting scrapped. That game's not. It's not good. It's not in a good state.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not like ready for launch because otherwise you just try and get it off the line. So sometimes you kind of have to just go. You know what? For the sake of going forward, let's just kill this. It's probably a relief for a lot of staff that we're not working on that anymore. We can finally refocus on something else.
It really shines a light on the difficulty that is game development. Like if you have one slip or two slips, because again, these people have a wage, they're paid like 200 staff for 4 years. Like that's money, that's like insurance, that's building property.
That's probably mostly 53 million.
Yeah, just on like basic functions. And I think after Mafia 3. It says in the article from Eurogamer as well, it was a commercial disappointment. It hasn't spawned, like no one's out there really clambering for Mafia 4. I think you don't really hear that much. It just kind of goes to show that like where do they go from here? What's the next project? This was going to be their first new IP since Mafia, which is a long time ago.
I'd imagine if you're working for a development studio, like you could probably come up with concepts fairly regularly, and you probably if I was to work as a game developer, and I was working on a game, and I came up with an idea of something that I thought was cool, I'd probably open a notepad or something, write down, type up the idea, type up the basic rough outline of the idea, and save it. So like when it comes to like, okay, we're looking for the new game, like let's get pictures together, I could just go to whoever and go, look, I came up with this idea like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I think there's something there. It needs to be a bit more fleshed out. So I imagine there's people like at Hangar 13 who've got some ideas. There might be some ideas in Voltron that can be repurposed.
Oh, I'm sure they won't leave everything
in the
bin.
Yeah, they're not just going to go, project's over,
Delete.
go to the Voltron file, delete.
Drag to the recycle bin.
I can guarantee there'll be some assets that that were designed for Voltron that'll appear in the next game. Probably even things like storylines that can be repurposed.
Oh yeah, certainly. And again, like hopefully all their jobs are safe, and I'm sure 2K are large enough to facilitate these people. They can definitely afford to pay them, looking at the money Grand Theft Auto alone makes. But that kind of trickles into our next story. It's kind of the same story in one. That was one of the announcements, and then I've actually got up the slide deck. Richie, I've dropped it in the dock if you've got it as well for the presentation, because it is a publicly traded company, so they have to be very transparent with everything they say. And the next story of the week brings us that we know 2K have got up to 63 games in the works over the coming months and years. And I think it's just really interesting to have a deep dive into these companies, because if we look at this slide deck, they say 12 series with individual titles that have sold over 5 million units. GTA, of course, it's its whole own thing practically at this point. In fact, GTA is the pillar that holds up the entire 2K business, in my opinion.
Yeah, GTA just sells.
Like the sports
insane
games,
amounts.
2K sports games do a fair amount. Red Dead Redemption does a great amount, but let's face it, the money. It's actually in a weird way. I wonder if Hangar 13 are being compared to the amount Rockstar put out, and just think like you're bringing in like 5% revenue compared to Rockstar. Unfairly compared, of course. Rockstar one of the, if not the most selling game of all time.
I'm sure they're not going like that, because that is just you can't.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5's success is unprecedented for a series that has always been commercially done very well. Like it's ridiculous. You can't really use that as a yardstick for anything.
Yeah,
I think you have to look at Hangar 13's the performance of what they're doing relative to what they're putting out. So, how much did we spend on this game? How much did it earn? If the numbers are positive, you're in for a winner, basically.
Yeah. And your contemporaries, what they're doing as well, not just the Grand Theft Auto. But looking at the series, looking at the list, Richie, they've got GTA, NBA 2K, Red Dead Redemption, Borderlands, which we all know, all on Stadia, funny enough. Great. I've heard NBA 2K needs some work, though. Basketball fans out there. Max Payne, Carnival Games, like I remember from the Wii, Bioshock, we know there's another game in development, Mafia, Sid Meier's Civilization, LA Noire, Midnight Club, and the Kerbal Space Program. And I look at that list and I'm like, that's a lot of IP that just is so irrelevant now. Like, you've not done anything with Max Payne in a long time.
Civ is an ongoing thing.
LA Noire got a remaster, right, on Switch or something?
Yeah, but there was only one game. One game ever made.
Midnight Club? Kerbal Space Program? Are these...
I think Kerbal Space Program is one of them, has like a cult following. Yeah.
But either way, moving on from those IP, they go into like their mobile games, because they are some. They talk about their growth, their expected increase. Interestingly enough, though, games industry got a couple of stats from this. There were 2.8 billion global video game players in 2021. Which is great.
That's a decent amount.
The fairly decent amount. We know the games industry is getting bigger and bigger. Gaming is
more than a third of the global population.
It's crazy.
And when you think about it, that global population, about 7 billion, includes old people like my nana. I love her a bit, but she's the biggest technophobia you'll ever meet. My nephews who are too young to play video games.
Yeah, and they're going to grow up. And we've said it time and time again. That's why cloud gaming is it's in such its infancy.
Yeah.
When you look at this, 28 billion hours of gameplay was watched across Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook in 2020. 28 billion hours. That's a lot of content. Gaming is
a couple of them hours were us.
Yeah, they were a couple hundred, over 100,000 hours were us actually. Gaming is poised to become number one entertainment vertical. We know that. We've been saying that for a long time. I think it brings in more money than movie, TV, cinema combined. But interestingly, average age of a gamer is 35 to 44 years old. That's older than us.
I expected us to be in the average age. Like, I'm 32 in like 2 weeks. I expected to be very much within the average age, if not more towards the high end. I almost expected to be on like the upper half of it. Mm-hmm. If I guess, I would have probably went somewhere like 20 to 40.
Yeah. But this does count everyone. So again, counting like mobile games and stuff in amongst that. But the final point of the statements that 2K have made is 75% of US households will have at least one person who plays video games. So 3/4 of every household will have someone who plays games. And I get it. I see it. It makes sense.
Well, yeah, mobile gaming. There's a few slides earlier actually shows their split year on year, including the expected between mobile, digital PC, digital console, and physical. Mm-hmm. And mobile is roughly half, if not more, every year of everything they do. So they're making more money every year. Oh well, this is the video game global market, not 2K's, but in the global market, more than half is made up of mobile gaming. And I'm assuming that isn't including things like Stadia. I would put Stadia in the digital. Yeah. Probably either console or PC. Take your pick. Don't really care. But
yeah. But it's interesting how when they go to their investors, they have to like pull out these stats. You can imagine a bunch of shareholders sat there. They don't play games themselves. They're just like, what makes us money? And just as you scroll through this slide deck, you can find it on 2K's website. It's like all public access. They spend like a whole slide focusing on LA Noire, Midnight Club, and Max Payne. And just reading the descriptions, listen to this. Midnight Club. The Midnight Club series created the open city street racing genre. That's it. Max Payne, Rockstar's most technologically sophisticated and cinematic action shooter to date. Max Payne 3. When did Max Payne 3 come out? Like, it must have been years and years ago at this point.
This slide is titled Rockstar Games Diverse Portfolio. It's Grand Theft Auto, and their portfolio realistically nowadays is Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead.
Sports games, they go on to say about like esports, best-selling basketball franchise. That fair enough. Their diverse portfolio, BioShock. I just think it's ironic how they're talking about like such old games as though they're brand new and relevant.
Well, I suppose they're still on the IP, so if investors will be interested and go, we've got this. If you go back to Midnight Club, we started this genre, and that might follow up because if you're in the column follow up, and we've got plans to continue it. Yeah.
So to get to the meat and potatoes of the story, Richie, their financial year 22 to 24 pipeline details. In their statement, they've announced 23 immersive core video games that include NBA 2K22, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, Marvel's Midnight Suns. They've shuffled some dates around, which we'll talk about later. Independent games, which we expect 6. Mobile 20, mid-core, whatever that means, 4 games, and 9 games that are new iterations of previously released titles, like the Grand Theft Auto Remaster trilogy, Grand Theft Auto Online, and Grand Theft Auto 5. And apparently the Kerbal Space Program is also coming to next gen late 2021. But in its entirety, excluding the mobile games, you're looking at about 30 to 40 games from 2K. But we don't know what they are. But more importantly, I'd like them to come to Stadia. And it's just a shame that there's nowhere I could find in this slide deck talks about that.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really a lot of talk in here about any individual platforms. It's platforms that... Oh, actually, on slide 29... 28. It does... There's a little mention to streaming cloud platforms that says Stadia, PlayStation Now, and Game Pass.
Yeah. So that's no Luna in there.
Yeah, no Luna's not in there. The actual Stadia logo isn't in there. It looks like they took the font, but not the actual Stadia logo, which is weird. But
no, okay. it's like the Stadia Pro logo, but without the Pro.
Yeah, but
it might be like their business logo that they use for internal documents or something.
It's fine.
I've definitely seen that before in that font. But under streaming cloud gaming, they're there. We're there. So, again, I'm a firm believer that we are going to see Grand Theft Auto Remaster on Stadia. And it comes out this month. and Stadia's birthday is this month, so I'm just still fingers crossed for a surprise announcement. Vice City on Pro. Do it, Stadia. Could you imagine? Play Vice City right now, click to play, go. And actually promote it and advertise it on YouTube ads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Either way.
The remaster comes out on the 11th, I believe. I might be wrong.
Yeah, and then I think physical version is like early December.
Yeah.
Which is weird that digital and physical are now split. I think Kena Bridge of Spirits did it on PlayStation as well.
You know what it is? It's a lot easier to publish the digital version.
Oh, yeah, I totally get
There's all the manufacturing and stuff. And I think a lot of developers now realise most people switched over to digital.
Mm-hmm.
We'll still produce the physical disc, but there's no mad rush to get that done.
True.
Let's get the game right, get it out, and then we'll focus on that, which
Indeed.
I'm okay with.
It's someone who buys physical for some things, still I'm not. But either way, we digress.
I prefer it, but...
Speaking of things in the cloud, Richard... Assassin's Creed Valhalla has had an update. It's actually an official update this time, Richie. It's no data mining, it's no leaks. Ubisoft have shared a sneak peek of the latest Assassin's Creed development roadmap, confirming dates for a number of largely mysterious additions. Starting November 9th, later this week, Title Update 1.4. That's all they've called it. Title Update 1.4. Yeah. And we should point out, Title Update 1.2 brought us the Island DLC, Wrath of the Druids. Update 1.3 brought in Paris and the Siege of Paris DLC. So 1.4 should be a big iteration, and all they've teased is a little kind of image of like a blue swirly tree, which I'm going to say, I'm going to call it right now, I think is the Bifrost that we recognise from Thor, Marvel, MCU fame. Because we know in the data mining, they are going to have...
If you take Eivor into the past, into different realms.
Well... We know the data mining said we think they're going to go to Muspelheim, which is one of the other 9 realms. So I think if you have the ability to use the Bifrost in Valhalla, that would be cool to just try. Fast travel. Fast travel should be the Bifrost. Just go up and then you're somewhere else.
Yeah, I think there's going to be definitely something significant about 1.4 because usually when you go up a version number in a big number, instead of going from 1.402 to 1.403. Which is probably just a patch. When you go up that next big number, there's usually because there's a significant change.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm excited to see what it is. They have also said, same as November 9th, the Tombs of the Fallen will be a free activity dropping within the game for all players. Very reminiscent of potentially older Assassin's Creed games. If you remember, Richie, with Ezio, used to run through the catacombs, hunt people down. It looks like it's leaning into something like that. So that'll be interesting to see. A bit of a
throwback.
Yeah, a bit of a throwback to classic roots. There is also another free event coming, the Oscaria Festival, which is the seasonal kind of Christmas festive that kicked off last year. You'll remember it, Richie. Yeah. We picked up the game last November, and then 3 weeks in, all of a sudden there was this random festival happening in the middle of your homestead. That's coming back again with some timed events, games, and fun to be had. And then finally, there is another game update rolling out in December, but they haven't said anything more about that.
Which I expect is probably a bit
just patchwork,
more minor,
something like that. But 1.4, you won't have to wait long. November 9th, so it is later this week, folks. Fill your boots if you're still playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because we know they are going to support it into its second year and beyond. Moving on, speaking of updates, Richie, you play Humankind. You are a human.
I am definitely human, last time I checked.
What I didn't expect to see this week, Humankind is celebrating Dia de los Muertos, its first time limited event, celebrating the Day of the Dead, which this isn't the kind of game I would ever expect to get seasonal content, but essentially the event...
It kind of makes...
It does.
I kind of think it makes sense, to be honest. Because, we could start a Day of the Dead map where there's new events that occur within the game associated with that. I think it's a cool idea. Yeah,
so Humankind, the event consists of 2 chapters taking their cue from Mexico's Day of the Dead, with challenges inspired by religion, celebration, and Mesoamerican cultures. Mesoamerican? Mesoamerican.
I'd go Mesoamerican, but
Mesoamerican cultures. The first chapter, which requires players to complete 20 festival public ceremonies in Mexico, to have a city with at least a 300 population, and be the religious leader of every empire in a game, is available now. With second unlocking on the 16th of November, completing both will unlock 3 symbols and frames each, plus the Katrina avatar. Now, They've also brought a bunch of quality of life improvements, bug fixes and stuff as part of this update too. I do need to check, I don't know if you know, Richie, if it's actually available on Stadia, because I feel like I read somewhere on Twitter midweek, I only glanced at it, apologies, I feel like the update might not be out on Stadia. I feel like I read somewhere somebody was giving them shit saying the game launched in early access on Stadia and the update isn't coming day and date or something.
I don't know.
Now, you have the game, but obviously you're currently like 100 hours deep into Persona, so...
150
hours deep into Persona. I tried to look through Twitter, I searched for like the hashtags Humankind, hashtag Stadia, and I couldn't find the update. So in theory, this Day of the Dead celebration should be available now. I looked on the blog post, it doesn't say anything about platform specifics, it just says out. So I'm going to take Amplitude's word for it that it's out now. But let me know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if it's out on Stadia or not. I honestly, I didn't. Once I saw this news story, I didn't actually have time to check.
That's all right.
Myself.
We don't expect you to.
Yeah.
Moving on though from Humankind, next star of the week, we might have a new indie game coming to Stadia. A Soul Passage game, indie game, tweeted out over the midweek. Hey indie game lovers and fellow indie devs for Soul Passage game. We're planning to reach as many players as we can, and we plan on launching on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, even Atari VCS. What do you think about Stadia? Let us know in the comments below. To which you amazing people out there in the community did your best stuff. Praised the platform, shared links with them to the dev pages, told them about the pro promotions, the porting process. Absolutely everything. Even John Scar, a friend over there, shared it on the Reddit thread for people who don't use Twitter. And it really, really just got the ball rolling with it. I jumped in, I said, yeah, bring it to Stadia, of course, why wouldn't you? And I think the most interesting thing, shout out, again, throwback to Thomas Salla, the developer, the sole developer of the Falconeer. He replied to them as well, saying, I've just recently got hands-on practice porting a game to Stadia. If you need any help, hit me up. This guy is so cool. I know, this guy's a legend.
I like Thomas Salla, yeah.
He's a legend. And and basically the general consensus is, bring this game to Stadia. They have a Kickstarter, so if you do want to see Soul Passage come to the platform, definitely head over and check their Twitter page out. It's just Soul Passage game. And it's essentially a Metroidvania with a unique quest and inventory system. They've tried to separate themselves a little bit from like the Hollow Knight style, because they were getting a bit of Hollow Knight vibes from them. But if you want another Metroidvania-esque indie title on the platform, head over and support them.
More games to the platform is always a good thing.
So the description on their Twitter page says, take control of Obligor, fight and explore different planets in the Soul universe in the next-gen Metroidvania. So we don't know much about it now, but head over and check out the Kickstarter. They're bringing out dates starting Q1 next year. But it's just nice to see that the community does their job and goes around and just like sings its praises and says yes. Because we've seen it with... why can't I think of the name of the game now? Kickstarter. Tom's a Kickstarter on it as well. Like the Pokemon-esque. They were doing it for like a year.
No, it's not you. What is it? Oh, this is going to bug me.
I know, it's going to bug me as well. I feel like I want to say New World, but it's not New World. Is it something? It's Paratrope are the people who... Paratrope. How do I know the dev, but I can't... Paratrope. Paratrope? What they're called? Why can't I... Oh, yeah, Paratope, not Trope. There you go. Sky Climbers.
Sky Climbers, that's it.
How do I remember the dev, but not the name of the game?
Don't know.
Either way, they kickstart, the community kickstarted them as well, but you love to see it. It. Just like you love to dance, Richie. Just Dance 2022 is available now on the platform. Just an update for you folks out there who have Ubisoft Plus. Of course, Just Dance is the third iteration of the game to now be on the platform, which is crazy. To think like Stadia's been around that long that we've now got 3 iterations of an annualized game already out, and go play. Personally, not a Just Dance fan. Unless I'm drunk, I don't really dance that much.
I don't like drunk. I don't like drunking when I'm dancing.
I don't like drunking. How many of you had already?
I've had one water.
Was it a double?
Oh yeah, double strength water.
Double strength water.
Extra wet.
2 shots of Tapaline will sort you right out. And yes, Just Dance 2022, the ultimate dancing game, is back with new universes and 40 hot new tracks from chart-topping hits like Believer by Imagine Dragons and Level Up by Kiara, and more. Don't know who Kiara is. Looking for the perfect game to dance to the latest hits and share some fun with friends and family? Just Dance 2022 is for you. Exercise while having fun and start your own routine with sweat mode. Sounds delightful. Keep yourself motivated, track the calories burned, and your time spent dancing. It does say as well in the blog post for Just Dance, join more than 138 million players around the world and just dance it out.
Yeah.
I don't think that many people play Just Dance. I feel like they're skewing that number somewhat into maybe like total sales of the game.
I don't know.
138 million. Grand Theft Auto 5 hasn't even sold that much. It probably has, actually.
I could see Just Dance being very big,
but
in the like, it's not our game. We're not involved in that sort of community. But it's like, do you remember like Dance Dance Revolution? That was huge. Yeah, and the people into that sort of game probably had to go somewhere.
Yeah, but remember, like games like Horizon Zero Dawn sold like 12 million. This is 138 million. The Last of Us 1 sold like 8 million.
Yeah, well, when you put it in that
138 million. How many Nintendo Wii consoles sold?
There was a lot.
Nintendo Wii sales. Just a quick check. The Nintendo Wii console total sales 101 million. You're telling me Just Dance has sold more than the Nintendo
So
Wii?
Everyone who bought a Wii was playing Just Dance.
And then everyone else. Either way, that might be a typo. Or 38 million I could maybe buy, but it doesn't say.
I think the number will be a bigger amount than you expect, but
yeah,
over 100 seems ridiculous.
I mean, it sells enough to get an annualized franchise. It could just be a platform with new songs added. Yet they still do this annualized game. Either way,
to make more money doing it this way.
Either way, not our type of game, but Philly Boots, of course, Ubisoft still supporting the platform once again. One of our final stories for the week, Richie, Avengers, Marvel's Avengers. I like Marvel's Avengers. I like talking about Marvel's Avengers. I haven't played it since the Black Panther stuff, but I'll go back to it when they bring out new content. Square Enix have came out and said that Crystal Dynamics were in fact the wrong fit for Marvel's Avengers, which is
throw them under the bus a bit.
Yeah, I know, right? So the head of Square Enix did come out when he was addressing shareholders. So Yusuke Matsuda said Square Enix need to learn from the game's disappointing performance, and more notably, he highlighted the importance of matching developing studios to their best skill set and interests. And basically, just comes out and says, they're not the best people.
Yeah,
and we know Avengers gets shit for it. But Crystal has always been a company that made games in the action-adventure space, he said. In that sense, I thought it would have been a good fit in terms of making a game with Marvel using Avengers, which would naturally be an action-based game. Marvel's Avengers, of course, didn't perform as well. My big issue with that is they were a great studio for it. Someone just made the decision to have a loot grindy-based game instead of a single-player story.
Well, that's it. What they've done is they've took action-adventure as kind of like a film genre and went, well, Marvel action adventure, Tomb Raider action adventure, you should be good at this. Where in the gaming genre areas, actually, you're forgetting the fact that Tomb Raider, which Crystal Dynamics most recently famous for,
great game,
is very much quite a linear, single-player, story-based experience focused on one character where they absolutely nailed the mechanics.
Yeah.
With Avengers, you've got a whole cast of characters, you've got to bring in loot boxes and all sorts of these games as a service stuff. It's very different. The games are very different to how they play.
Yeah, completely. I totally agree. And you know what? To their credit, the story is great. I thoroughly enjoyed the story of Avengers with Kamala Khan meeting her heroes and reforming the Avengers to defeat AIM.
I've said I'm not a fan of the game, but I've said all along, the single player campaign is really fun. It's really good.
Yeah, totally agree.
The problem is, I don't think there's any substance once you get past it.
Yeah.
It's like,
if it was just a single player campaign, the skill tree could have been better. It didn't have to be as convoluted.
It could have been. They could have padded out the story more because it just kind of got at quite a fast pace.
It does. It should have had a few more chapters, I felt.
Yeah, but the thing is, for me, a games as a service game like Avengers, the multiplayer should be the focus. The story mode is kind of get you into the world, get you familiar with how the mechanics of the game. But the real meat of this game should be in the multiplayer, and that's where I found it very, very lacking.
Yeah.
Like even when they bring out the DLC, we'll play through. I'll enjoy the story, probably on stream, and then
done.
I will not touch it again till the next time they bring out some DLC, free DLC.
Very similar to me. They've also backtracked on XP boosts this last week. They got a bit of a backlash because initially they said they weren't going to bring out pay to win, essentially. And then they've since removed the XP boosters, which I don't mind the XP boosters. Like, if you want to pay to introduce it, but then that balancing between the grind and are they slowing down the XP rate to
that's where the controversy comes.
Yeah.
If you could just like pay a single one-off payment to max out a character on a that isn't PvP. If it's PvP, pay to win can fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, anything that can give it a player's unfair advantage in PvP can just fuck right off. But with PvE, like where Avengers, it's cooperative. Who cares? Like,
yeah,
if it's how you want to spend your money.
Yeah, if you want to grind.
As long as they're not baking in stuff that to try and force you into spending money to like, get an XP boost when the game, you should be able to just play the game naturally.
Yeah. Agreed. And then final news to do with Avengers is apparently Spider-Man won't be getting it on Stadia, but going to shout it out anyway because it's been a long time coming. It's finally going to join as a playable hero at the end of the month, 30th of November, which I cannot believe after all this time. Spider-Man is finally coming. There's no trailer, there's no teaser. We don't know what he looks like in the game. All we have is a little Spider-Man symbol on the roadmap for the end of November.
I've got a feeling, actually, with this article and the way it reads, the way these announcements have been made, that, and with Spider-Man they're kind of finishing off the commitments to this game.
This is the last thing we promised. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. Let's
now.
get. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't really much going on with Avengers next year.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it could be. I actually think because Spider-Man's been delayed so long, he's now at risk at getting in the way of the promotion for Tom Holland's new MCU movie, the No Way Home, because you're now going to have two Spider-Men on like promotional content, advertisements and stuff in the journalistic world that you don't want to get in the way. You don't want to step on each other's toes with like different marketing messages. It could work. It could work in their advantage, but
if you work together on it, though, what you can do is you can get people get into Spider-Man. Oh, I'm interested in Spider-Man. Oh, Spider-Man's in Avengers. But I don't. At this point in time, I don't think Spider-Man being in this game is going to move more copies. Not really.
It might sell some more copies if people watch the movie and go like, "Oh, I want to play Spider-Man." But then just buy Insomniac Spider-Man at that point.
It's not going to move copies to a significant degree. What you might get is a spike of PlayStation players who've been waiting for Spider-Man jump back in for a couple of weeks.
I've waited over a year for this promised exclusive content. Either way, we joke because we won't see it on Stadia. Which this actually, in the long term of things, might be like the final nail in the coffin for the game because it's going to piss off everyone who's just suddenly remembers that they don't get Spider-Man. Everyone on Xbox, PC, and Stadia and stuff are just like, now you get that extra knife in the back of, oh, you know that amazing hero Spider-Man? Yeah, you don't get him. The game's
I wouldn't expect the outrage in this.
You not think?
There was a bit of outrage like when the game came out, but I don't think people care that much anymore. I think this game is either you're into that ecosystem, you're enjoying the grind and just playing, which is fine, more power to you, or you've moved on.
Maybe.
I do think like the gaming industry has moved on from this game.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of moving on, another little tidbit for Marvel news. Midnight Suns from Firaxis. We don't know it's coming to Stadia. We theorise it might. It is published by 2K, so there is a chance. It's been delayed. It's been pushed back to the second half of 2022. So that is again the game that now it's the XCOM-esque game that brings in Wolverine, Doctor Strange, Blade. A brand new Marvel character that's been designed specifically for this Midnight Suns game. I'll just read straight from the Twitter post they put up. Hi everyone, on behalf of Firaxis Games, thank you for sharing just how excited you are for Marvel's Midnight Suns. We've been thrilled to see your reaction to everything from our announcement of the game to the reveal of the card-based tactical combat. Midnight Suns is a true dream project for the team. We can't express what our honour is to create something new in the Marvel universe. We're decided to share that we've made a very tough decision to move our launch window from the second half to the second half of 2022. I won't read the rest of it because that's essentially it in a nutshell. Thanks for understanding. You are the best fans in the world, and that comes from their senior franchise producer and creative director. Richie, 2 questions. Or 3 questions, maybe. One, do you think there's a chance this can come to Stadia?
I think there's a good chance, yeah.
2, are you excited for this type of game, with it being a turn-based Marvel hero game?
I've never really played an XCOM style game, so I wouldn't say I'm excited for it. This is one of them where I really hope like a game like XCOM comes to Pro. For me, this was one where it could do with a 2-hour demo.
Yeah.
To test my waters, to see into it. But I'm not one. I like Marvel stuff, but I'm not one where. This is one of my issues with Avengers that I've said many times, where I feel like they made a mediocre game and slapped the Avengers branding on it to try and lift a mediocre game. Where I think you need to produce a top quality game, and then the Avengers stuff should be just the cherry on top. I'm not going to buy a game just because it's Marvel.
Yeah. I'm kind of saying, with it being turn-based, I feel like I'd like to see a demo of it beforehand. Very interesting roster. They're now starting to combine. We're starting to see like X-Men and Blade, who are going to be in the MCU. There's so much Marvel and Star Wars content out there right now. But probably better for them to get out of that February busy period, which we've said many, many times. I think it can only be better.
I'm approaching this the same as I did with Avengers, where the Marvel branding is the thing that's kind of putting this on my radar, but doesn't sell the game for me.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as that one. Same boat. But we'll have to wait and get an update on that one. And
what was the third question?
I can't remember.
All right.
Will you buy it, maybe? I don't know. Forgot. Oh, it was something about probably getting out of the busy period. Like, will it be better for it being delayed?
Probably, yeah.
But that is it. And not really a final news story of the week, but just a little update. I finished Far Cry 6 now. Got it out of the way, finished the campaign. Didn't end how I expected it to end. Final thoughts on the game. I enjoyed it. I actually got more into it, ironically enough, when I decided to move on from it. I said the thing last week, I bought Guardians of the Galaxy to start playing. And then as soon as I bought Guardians of the Galaxy, I got this itch to play Far Cry, which I don't know whether it was just like the weird gamer inside me. But they've recently dropped a new update patch. Some content went live early, which was the Danny Trejo DLC, like the free content. Like, I realised one of the nights this past week, I suddenly got asked to go do this mission, and I was like, why the hell is Danny Trejo, the actor, the famed Machete actor, suddenly popping up in the middle of a Far Cry campaign? Like, is he on the island of Yara? Is he involved with the with this like Viva la Libertad like Republic breakaway group? What's going on here? And then apparently it went live too early, and the levels have been pulled and stuff since then. But it's part of a patch update. I enjoyed the game. It's not my favourite Far Cry game, to be honest. But we've got the season pass coming up, which is going to have special operations featuring the enemies from the past. We'll see how that goes. But at this moment in time, if you've not played a Far Cry game in a while, I definitely recommend playing it. It's a great game. If you're a big Far Cry fan, it's more of the same, really, which I think is how I felt the whole time playing it. We shall see. Yeah. I'd be intrigued.
That's what
to
you
get,
expect from Ubisoft. Like...
Oh yeah, definitely at this point. I'm definitely intrigued to get your take on it, Richie. I know you said you might jump in with Ubisoft Plus soon.
Might do. I'm just not really getting drawn to it, to be honest. I was curious before, but then when it kind of came out, it's just more Far Cry. It's just fine. It's like I was kind of hoping that people go, "Oh my god, this is an amazing game. You really need to play it."
Yeah, it's a solid game. It's just nothing. If at this point I'd say you should probably just play Blood Dragon if you're after a little like Far Cry hit, and you'll get that soon enough. But not soon enough that we won't have had many episodes of the podcast out, because that is the end of the show. That brings us to a close on episode 111. And Richie, even with no Stadia blog this week, we've managed to go for 1 hour 28 minutes. Just as we do here, because we can talk about games all day, every day with you, lovely people out there in the digital world. Thank you very much for supporting. Thank you very much for watching the show. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel and share it, and click that bell so you can share it out there with all of the wonderful people in the community. Help us with the algorithm. And don't forget, follow us on Twitter at Helix Cloud Games, because we're just short of 1k. You might be the magical 1k person who ticks us over the edge. Richie, Far Cry It's been a long episode already. Get me to the pub. Not Far Cry. SideQuest. This week we're talking about...
We're talking about Stadia's birthday. Will they do anything, etc., etc., etc.?
Will they do anything, etc., etc., etc.? We're going to go record that now. Our members get up to 6 days early, just like you can, by clicking join on the YouTube video. But other than that, my name's been Chris. You can follow me at CyberChris2077.
I've been Richie, and you can follow me at RichieC89.
Don't forget to follow Tom at AdaxisLP. We'll be back next week to bring you all of your Stadia and gaming news rounded up. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great week. And remember, play wherever makes you the happiest. Bye.